I think the third thing about why we talked about a little bit is the regulatory structure that's happening. The fact that we have, every state has regulators for insurance and banks, and we have federal regulators, and we have regulators for investment, and regulators for credit, and we have regulators for everything except that the solution space is in hybrid products, I think. And hybrid products only happen if you can get regulators to agree to create MOUs or safe harbors or different places. And I think that just means that we've got to actually do a very hard thing, which is a little bit about the oxymoron of regulatory, entrepreneurial regulators, right? Regulatory innovation is a really hard thing. We did a global scan of what's happening with regulatory sandboxes in finance around the world. And you know, one of the things that was really clear when we did that about why are other places, you know, really standing up these, they call them sandboxes, which is like, where can regulators go to work with financial innovators to understand what's going on inside of those products in a way that helps them not squash innovation, but still allow for consumer protection and safety and soundness in the marketplace. In the US, almost every single regulator we have and every single agency we have is the response of a past crisis, right? It solves for the past crisis. And what happens with that is that you just get layers and layers. They're hard to repeal. They're hard to integrate. They regulate on these different domains. And so we've just ended up with a regulatory structure that it makes it very difficult for innovation to happen. One of the things that is happening in other countries is that they're looking at kind of like, what's the function of regulation? Right now in this country, it's mainly, you've got regulators that are in charge of safety and soundness, and you've got regulators that are in charge of consumer protection. They're not always in the same place. At the end of the day, they're not really about competition. The regulatory mandate isn't competition, and the regulatory mandate isn't inclusion. So it's really hard if those are the things you're mainly doing at a company is dealing with compliance with regulators, and what the regulators care about isn't what we think is actually going to make a dynamic market for consumers to kind of deal with these issues. So I think that that's another place where we're really looking to see how do we start to spur innovation and passporting between states, and how do you make it easier for an innovation that we think is working to move quickly and scale.